If you're thinking of buying a house here in Fargo, North Dakota, you need to watch out for these 5 hidden costs of home ownership. Home ownership is a lot different than renting, and with it comes a lot of extra costs because in the middle of the night, if your fridge leaks and you need it fixed, you can't just call a landlord to do it, you need to do it yourself. But home ownership is a great thing. You can build some great equity, build a great investment, and start to build that path to wealth, but there is some costs that are associated with it. So in this video, I just want to go over 5 of kind of the hidden costs that I think people don't really realize when they buy a house here, specifically in Fargo, North Dakota. Obviously, there's more costs associated when you own a home other than these 5, but these are kind of 5 that I think are sometimes overlooked, especially the last one, especially when people are buying homes and having inspections done. This thing is overlooked a lot when it's something that's going to come up when you resell your house down the line. I'm going to jump right into it, but I'm Sykora. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm a realtor here in Fargo and make a lot of videos just to give people information on the housing market, things you need to look out for, things you need to know, so then when you are at that point where you're ready to buy a house, you feel confident and ready to go. If that's some point where you think you're at and you think you're ready, but you're just not sure where that process starts, you can reach out to me and we can kind of get that process started for you. But if not, that's fine. I hope you find this video informational, so we'll jump right into it to number 1, which is taxes. So there's a lot of different things with taxes here in Fargo that people need to keep in mind. One of the big ones is specials, but aside from that, even your normal property taxes. Property taxes are going to be significantly higher here in Fargo, here in Moorhead, here in West Fargo, than they are going to be in rural North Dakota. If you lived on a farm, they're going to be really low compared to Fargo just because there's so much infrastructure here. There's so many different things. There's a ton of different buildings being built here, that sort of thing. So it costs more money to run all that. Now with that, the big one that I'm going to talk about is special assessments. So special assessments are huge because they actually have an influence on your monthly payment by a lot. Some houses, it can have up to $500 more on a monthly payment, which is absolutely huge. Now you got to think the newer the area, likely the higher the specials. And if it's a brand new area and you're one of the first houses in and you're like, oh, these specials aren't too bad, they're only 20 grand. There's probably going to be more down the line when they're continuing to build that infrastructure or they end up building a school nearby or an overpass or that sort of thing. So specials are going to continue to be added onto houses, but you need to be aware of the situation and the area you're buying your house in. The newer the house, the more likely it's going to have more specials. The worst thing about it is sometimes you don't know. There could be some specials coming in the future. Hopefully they're reasonable. Most of the time they are reasonable. Sometimes they're not, like you saw the situation in Horace right now with the homeowners going on with that. But specials are a huge thing that influence your monthly payment a lot. Because a $300,000 house in West Fargo that has $80,000 in specials and a $300,000 house in Moorhead have significantly different taxes and in a result, a significantly different monthly payment. So it's just something to keep in mind and something I think a lot of people overlook. They just look at the main price of the house. You need to look at the taxes and the specials too. So that's a major one. But another major one is just budgeting. According to a Bankrate study, homeowners on average spend around $8,800 a year on maintenance or upgrades on their house. So if you're really tight with your budget, where you can barely afford your mortgage payment, but then you have $8,800 of expenses and random things that pop up that you need to take care of with your house, it's not going to be great. So you need to make sure you just have a little bit of room. You know, you never know what's going to happen. If that fridge breaks in the middle of the night, you're going to need to get a new fridge, that sort of thing. And another one is just to look at all your HVAC systems, to look at your AC, your furnace, your water heater, your roof, the big ticket items, and to be able to budget for them down the future. Because you know, if the average lifespan of water heater is around 20 years and your water heater is around 15 years old, it's time to start setting money aside every single year for those 5 years until you can afford a new water heater when inevitably it does break. Because they don't last forever. Sometimes they last longer than they're intended to, which is great. Then you just have that money stored away or saved or whatever. But the big ticket items and overlooking those expenses or those repair costs is huge. Especially when these days it seems like a roof gets more and more expensive, where it can be 30 to 40 grand to put on a new roof, which is also very important to where you have to have home insurance on your house. Most of the time it's going to be required because you have a mortgage on your house, but if you paid for a house of cash, it's not required for you to have insurance on your house. But it's highly recommended. Because you know, if a hailstorm comes, your roof's destroyed, your siding's destroyed, you may have to pay your deductible, but insurance is going to cover that 50 grand, 30 grand cost to replace the roof and siding. But if not, that's on you as a homeowner. And I would guarantee almost everybody doesn't have 50 grand laying around just to throw into their house with an issue that could be paid for with a $2,500 deductible. So things like that are huge. Keep insurance on your house. Be ready for extra things to pop up because there inevitably are, and always continue to upgrade your home too. It's the same thing people always see with houses. I look at houses that are built in the 1920s right now. Some of them haven't been touched since 1920. You want to continue to upgrade your home and bring up your home because that's going to bring up your value inevitably bringing up your equity, inevitably bringing up your investment of real estate in your house so you have great equity to turn over into another house or just to cash in on later down the line. Next up, with the third hidden cost I see with people having home ownership here in Fargo-Moorhead, this one kind of ties into that last one a little bit, but this is having flood insurance. Now, flood insurance is required by houses that are in the 100-year floodplain. Now, a lot of people don't know if their house is in the floodplain or not, but you can find it out on the FEMA map online, or if you're not sure where it's at, you can just email me your address and I'll tell you if you're in the floodplain or not. But this is a huge one. Floodplain insurance can cost up to $2,000 a year. Now, this is huge, especially when you're already paying for your other normal insurance, when you're already paying for all your utilities already. This is a big cost. So it's definitely something to consider. And another thing to consider with it, it hurts your resale value down the line. So you really need to consider flood insurance if your house is in the floodplain. Obviously, we're hoping a lot of houses are taken out of the floodplain actually when this diversion is complete, but we don't know when that's going to finally be completed. But you need to keep in mind flood insurance, whether you're buying a home, whether you already own a house and it's in the floodplain, that sort of thing. So always keep that in mind. Next up, at number 4, it's a big one before we hop into number 5, which I think is the most important and one of the most overlooked things that people do when they're buying or selling a home here in Fargo, North Dakota, and that's number 5, but we'll go to number 4 first, and that is all your monthly fees. Obviously, you're gonna have utility costs, you're gonna have water, heat, electric, natural gas, sewer pickup, garbage, all that sort of thing. If you combine those together, it gets to be really expensive. This is on top of your mortgage payment too. So you have all these different costs, and another big one is HOA fees. Sometimes HOA fees will include sewer and water, but you need to look at that. Look at what the cost difference is gonna be between this house and HOA versus this house not an HOA that doesn't include utilities, that sort of thing. So you need to go back and forth. But these are major costs and they add up quick. A lot of times all these bills will be under, $150 each a month. They still add up quick when you have like 5 or 6 of them. And also, to continue to add on to that, if you have a Ring doorbell and you have a subscription for that, if you have internet in your house, if you have cable, all these sort of things, they continue to add up and add up. So you really need to keep that in mind when you're buying a home it's not just your mortgage payment. And I should have mentioned this in taxes in the beginning, but your taxes go up every single year. It's inevitable. Your house is gonna be reappraised. It's gonna be reappraised for higher because the real estate always appreciates. So that monthly and that mortgage payment you see will not be the same forever. It's gonna go up slightly just for your taxes portion. Now your principal and interest will stay the same as far as payment wise, depending on what type of loan program you have, but your taxes are gonna continue to go up. There's some great tax abatement programs here in North Dakota. There's some great tax refund programs here in North Dakota, but just keep in mind your taxes are always gonna go up. Your costs are always gonna go up because everything's continuing to get more expensive, but your principal and your interest payment on your mortgage will continue to stay the same if it's a fixed rate mortgage. So just something to keep in mind with that. I just wanna touch on that before we head to this last one. This one's a huge one, and this is radon mitigation systems. Now, a lot of houses already have this system installed. Basically what radon is, it's odorless and it's an invisible gas that comes up through our soil that when breathed in, you have a higher chance of lung cancer. So when levels are over a 4 on a 1 to 12 scale, that's where it's recommended to have a radon mitigation system installed. So as of a couple weeks ago, we actually have a radon disclosure form now. So if someone has radon in their home or they tested for it and it's high, you would not have to disclose that. Or if you have a system, obviously disclose that. A system for radon can cost upwards of $2,000 to $2,500 to put in. And what this does is it sucks that air right up above the soil with a seal, shoots it above the roof of the house. So then obviously you're not breathing in that radon when you are downstairs or you have someone living downstairs or that sort of thing. Now, why this is a hidden cost. So if let's say you buy a house, but you say, well, I'm not gonna do a radon inspection. I'm just gonna overlook it for now. I'll handle it down the line. But then, 3 years later, when you turn around to sell the house, the buyer has a radon inspection done because you had to disclose in the radon disclosure that you had 0 radon or that you did not know of any radon in the house. Then the radon comes back at 10. Now you're kind of stuck having to pay a $2,000 bill to have a radon system installed, because even if that buyer says, well, we don't want to buy the house anymore because we don't like the radon, because the seller did not say you want to fix it, now you have to disclose that you have radon in your house and it's high levels. And every single buyer after that buyer is going to say the same exact thing. So it's something to keep in mind that, okay, probably not a huge cost when you live in the house right now or for less than 5 years, but if you turn around and sell it and you overlook the radon inspection when you bought, it's going to be a huge cost that's sometimes hidden in the process. It's not like radon tests are the most expensive thing in the world. You can get one for, $50 at Menards, or you can have an inspector do it for like $150 or something like that, but it saves you so much money down the line. And I know this is kind of more of a cost with buying a house instead of a cost with actually home ownership, but it's also kind of a cost of home ownership if you have to pay $2,500 for a new system down the line. So I hope all that made sense. I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I appreciate you watching this video. These were 5 costs I see with homeowners having here in Fargo, North Dakota. If there's any costs that you think were surprising to you as a new homeowner or with your house for a long time, drop them in the comments below, and I appreciate you watching this video.